Its infant mortality rate was 88 per thousand. Its under-5 mortality rate was 147 per thousand. And not enough children were attending school. It was Eritrea's first national emergency.
You can't build a hospital in 1 year. You can't produce doctors in 6 months. You can't produce nurses in 1 year.
But what Eritrea already had were schools and teachers. Hundreds of schools and thousands of teachers. Many of them in the very same remote spots the fighters were underground.
Most of our struggle, of course, was in the countryside. So it was in the most difficult and remote areas. So we were able to work with the most undeveloped part of Eritrea.
Which set up an intriguing possibility. If education and health could go together in the trenches, maybe they could also in peacetime. This is Keren, one of the biggest cities in northern Eritrea. And it is here that part of a huge national experiment is taking place. One teacher from each school in the area has been sent to this classroom for urgent training, how to spot small health problems before they become large. Problems like ear infections, skin infections, stunted growth, rotten teeth, and poor eyesight. If teachers can spot these problems early, disaster can be avoided later. It's not just being done in Keren. This training has happened in every region of the country, and every school is represented. This mountaintop village is called Hadish Adi in northern Eritrea, near where much of the War of Independence was fought.
This village, just up in the hills, is one of the remote places that we have. It takes nearly between 4 and 5 hours to drive to the village.
That's if you have a car, which these villagers don't. But now, teachers here check eyes and ears, monitor growth or lack thereof. They are able to refer children to the nearest health outpost for basic treatment. Before problems get so large as to require a long trip to the city. And though it began in remote areas, the idea was for school health to work everywhere. Every school in Eritrea receives basic health services. From the northern hills to the city to the deserts of the Red Sea. But how to reach nomadic people? In the northern Red Sea region of Eritrea, in some of the hottest desert in the world, live a group of reclusive, proud people called Raishida. The Raishida are nomadic and have retained a measure of autonomy in Eritrea. You can spot a Raishida woman by her colorful veil. There are only about 150,000 Raishida in the world, and yet they must also be reached by the public health system. This particular group of Raishida are just one of several families of nomadic people living near the village of Wakiro.
When you come to our area, most of the parents, they are nomads. They don't have settled life. They move from one place to another place. During June, July, even September, it's very hot in this area. Therefore, they migrate to the place where they can find water.
But here too, the teachers have been trained. And they know that anemia is a big problem in this area because the nomads subsist on a low iron diet. The treatment? A weekly iron tablet to every student each week of the school year that they are in this part of the country.
Every child must take 32 tablets in a year because we have 32 academic weeks. And every week a child takes one tablet.
Thanks to the iron pill distribution, anemia has dropped from 14% to 4% among children in the northern Red Sea region. Small problems with small solutions prevent bigger problems down the road. The results are real and measurable. Samples show malnutrition among the youngest children down 27%. Death of children under 5 of malnutrition or upper respiratory infection cut in half. Children who attend kindergarten, 30% more likely still to be in school by 2nd grade. Eritrea embraced its historical unity to tackle child health. That unity would have to be summoned again to rebuild something else the war had ruined. During Ethiopian occupation, the railway had fallen into disrepair. In 1975, the Ethiopian regime dismantled the railroad. Both sides foraged war materials from its parts. After the war, the new country was determined to repair its railroad. Their sanity was questioned.
After 30 years of destruction, it has a very high value. While everybody told them that it was not possible, absolutely impossible to use this material, and they were crazy if they would have tried.
But they didn't just try, they succeeded. The Asmara station was salvaged. Slowly, the line was restored, starting at Massawa. By 2003, the line had once again reached Asmara. 11 steam locomotives survived, and 6 have been returned to working order. 2 1957 vintage Litorina rail cars are also running again. The original 1930s passenger cars were restored as well. Its capabilities are limited, but the Eritreans returned their railroad to working order without any international assistance or loans. The same can't be said of Asmara's architecture. Having uncovered the blueprints of Asmara's past, Edward Dennison embarked upon a mission to preserve these buildings from decay and destruction in a newly independent Eritrea.
The initial intention for my wife and I was to write a book because we felt that was the best platform in which to promote this heritage to an international audience. And we proposed that idea to the Heritage Project, having already done that work in the archives.
The result was Asmara, Africa's secret modernist city. It remains the only widely published book about Eritrea's architecture, and it spawned a movement within Eritrea to begin reconstruction work on some of its most treasured buildings. The project, called CARP, brought out architects like Berhane Mahare and Naizi Gebremedine to go over the old blueprints and triage a few of the most culturally valuable structures most in need of repair.
For me, it was possibly the perfect job. It was wonderful to know that the work you were doing was able to complement a project that was taking place in Africa, which, in the right circumstances, will help develop, in my opinion, will help towards the development of a nation.
The first building on the list, the Asmara Theater. The Eritreans commissioned blueprints on how to shore up and restore the magnificent 80-year-old theater. but events would eventually catch up with Eritrea's rise. The border with Ethiopia has been a constant source of tension, and in 1998 it burst into full-scale war, and tens of thousands were killed on both sides. Since then, Eritrea has been stuck in a stalemate. All men, and some women 18 to 40 years old, serve in the military, many of them on the border. The economy wobbles, and tension mounts. They call it no peace, no war. Many of Eritrea's gains hang in the balance, including the now postponed renovation of the Asmara Theater, and the rest of Asmara's modern architecture as well. Now it sits, mostly idle, awaiting its fate. Nothing is being torn down, but if years of neglect ensue, time will ultimately tear down these treasures. The bright spot? Eritrea's school health initiatives, precisely because they are designed to be cost-effective and create a multiplier effect from its teacher workforce, is still in effect. In the meantime, Eritrea's greatest achievement is still its existence as a nation, still without heavyweight international allies, still eyeball to eyeball with a neighboring country many times its size, still poised for yet another conflict. If it comes, will this nation, which has beaten the odds so many times, pull it off again